So right now, thank you, family. So right now, I'm about to bring up an amazing, incredible person. But before that, I want to shout out Chrissy and Mark who are holding down the merch table, right? Yes, the merch table for justice for the Muslim collective. There's some incredible t-shirts, canvas bags, some scarves as well. Please feel free to spend money there. And yes, and and we also have Tom and Lynn CDs. Is that what we're holding up there? Yes, please feel free to buy those and take some of those songs home with you, for sure. Please. All right, and so right now I want to bring up a dear friend, and also want to read to you this incredible bio that was written by another friend of ours and a dear friend of hers, Helen. Y'all know Helen? I just want to shout out Helen because this is just a really beautiful description of who you're about to see right now, and this comes from Helen. Dr. Maha Hilal, scorching political analyst when her fingers hit her computer keyboard, puts less hard-hitting commenters to shame. Her rapid responses to outrageous events and situations are published in multiple media sources and journals. When she stands up to do comedy, which she's about to, her scandalously funny satire hits home again and again. You've read her prolific, scathing articles online. Now see her in person. Dr. Hilal has a PhD in justice, law, and society from American University in Washington, D.C., and the focus of her research and expertise is institutionalized Islamophobia in the war on terror and its impact on Muslim and Muslim Americans. Dr. Hilal is currently the co-director of Justice for Muslims Collective, an organizer with Witness Against Torture, and a council member of School of the Americas Watch. Please give a big, warm round of applause to Dr. Maha Hilal performing some comedy for you all.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Here we are again, another year of Guantanamo. But it's great to be in community with all of you, and so I'm really fortunate to be here with all of you. As Frank said, my name is Dr. Maha Hilal. Most people can't pronounce my name, and it's pronounced Maha. Can everyone say Maha? Maha. That was horrible. That was really horrible. So half my life is spent writing articles and the other half is spent repeating my name for people that can't pronounce it correctly. And usually it actually has no impact on the fact that they don't get to the correct pronunciation at the end. But so I'm holding a small raffle in the back with a USB that has a video of how to pronounce my name that you should listen to over and over and over and over. So by the time you come back next year, maybe you'll have it right, or maybe I'll kill myself. Whichever has to happen. So the interesting thing about my name, it's a 4-letter name. It's not very complicated. And I know that people can say my name because people have said my name who are not Arab, who don't speak Arabic. But it's just really complicated. But what's even funnier is when it bears no resemblance to my name. So when I was in middle school, there was this kid that always used to harass me. And he would come up to me and he'd say my name in this very particular way that I've never forgotten. And he'd go, very strange, very strange. I have to say that one has always stood out, even though I was 12. It was just one of the strangest renditions I've ever heard. And then I'll get like Maya and Mihi. And one time when I was at the airport, my name was printed on the luggage tag, and the woman said, "Oh, your name got cut off." And I'm like, no, it actually didn't. And I'm guessing you don't actually know any other Arabic names to which you're comparing mine to, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Then another time, I was at JCPenney, okay? I was sitting, waiting to get a haircut, and you know how my name is Maha Hilal, and it's the same order, it's first name is first, last name is last? That's also a point of confusion for a lot of people. So she comes out of the salon and comes to call me, and she says, Hilal. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's not my first name. And second of all, that's not how you pronounce my last name. But I knew it was me because I was the only one there. So then I just wanted to die all over again. You know, and I've asked my mom, like, why did you do this to me? Like, you should have had a focus group to determine what names people in this country could actually pronounce. My sister's name is Reem. Admittingly, some people are too dumb to get that one right as well, but it's a lot easier. It's like a ream of paper, and then they move on, they get it. Meanwhile, I'm still stuck in Mihi, Maya, Maja, whatever version people decide is my name. So I want to tell you just about some of the, stupid things I get on the daily. Questions like, where are you from? And usually when someone asks me that, like, I know what they want to hear. I know they want me to say I'm from a foreign country, so I just say I'm from Wisconsin, because that's where I'm from. And I know it, like, really irks them. And then if they ask the question again, I'll say I'm from Madison. And then again, I'll just tell them the neighborhood. Like, look, you're not going to get you're not getting the answer you want to get. So just give up now, right? And they just can't handle it. And sometimes when people ask me, where are you from? And they're white, I'll be like, well, where are you from? I know you're not indigenous. So if you want me to tell you, you're going to have to tell me. I should also say that I just came back from Wisconsin, where my mom lives. And it's especially nice to see this side of the room because it reminds me of Wisconsin. the very similar demographics. It's always nice to see, Can't escape from the white people. And of course, the Christian church. I have never performed with Jesus Christ in the background. That's a new one. So along the lines of, knowing English, I get a lot of questions about, like, do I speak English? But the awesome part about it is it's often asked while I'm speaking English. It's not like before I open my mouth. It's literally like, we have already had a conversation. And then it's like, do you speak English? And then my mom has a heavy Arab accent, so she often gets the same question. Do you speak English, or do you understand? And my mom says, yes, I understand. I have a PhD, do you? And inevitably they're like, no, okay? And when it gets really bad, it's like, my mom will be like, look, not only do I have a PhD, my husband had a PhD, my 2 daughters have a PhD, my son-in-law has a PhD. The only 2 people in our family that don't have PhDs are ages 5 and 9 months. So I think you have enough evidence here to know that we actually know English and speak it just fine. Never mind the fact that both my parents wrote dissertations on engineering in English, which most people in this country can't even write a dissertation in their own language. So I'd say I'd say they know English quite well, right? Another question I used to get was, do you walk like an Egyptian? Does anyone know that reference? Well, first there was that song, right? And also, like, in a lot of the drawings and depictions of ancient Egypt, right? The people were often depicted as like this. And I'm like, have you ever seen me walk like an Egyptian? Like, has that ever happened? Like, ever? But it's okay, it didn't stop them. It doesn't stop them. It doesn't stop them. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just getting warmed up because I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. So the same kid that used to ask me, or used to say my name really strangely, I started wearing hijab in 7th grade, and so every day thereafter, he started asking me, are you bald? And you can, like, number one, I've always worn my scarf like this, so, like, clearly I'm not, like you can see. And so one day he came to school with this, like, really hideous haircut. So when he asked me the second time, like, are you bald? I said, no, I just got a haircut like you, and I was too ashamed to come to school like this. So it works, hijab comes in handy sometimes. It also helps you be targets of hate crimes, but in other instances, it works in your favor. So I was once in a hotel, and we were trying to, make a reservation to have, like, a banquet at this place. And I was speaking English to the receptionist, as I usually do, unless there's a reason for me to speak Arabic. And she was just, like, looking at me like this, and she was just trying to make out what I was saying. And I'm like, I'm speaking in English, but, like, my face She was looking at my face as if she could not understand how someone that looked like me could speak English. And then she subsequently literally understood nothing of what I was saying. And I was so confused. I was so confused. And then I was like, this is why I need to bring white people with me everywhere I go, because my English is just not good enough, apparently. But that's the joys of living in Wisconsin and in the Midwest, right? Like it's pretty much white country. It's pretty much inescapable. Everywhere you go, there's white people. There's white people that stare at you. There's white people that think you're crazy. There's white people that think you're scary. There's a lot of different white people. There doesn't tend to be white people that actually know anything about the world, though. That is consistent. So it's been good times in Wisconsin. And, you know, like, when I think about just the strange stories we'll get and, like, our experiences, my sister was driving once downtown on campus, and someone saw her, and it was, like, football season, so everyone was drunk. And so they looked at her, and they're like, oh, my God, it's Mother Teresa. Because she was wearing a white scarf. But white people get confused really easily. I was wearing this dress one day, and this guy came up to me, he's like, let me guess, Tajikistan. And I'm like, I bought it from JCPenney. I actually don't have any idea where you got this from. And most of my clothes is actually from JCPenney. But because I wear it, they automatically think it's like from a foreign land, right? And they just can't understand. Has anyone heard of white magic? Does anyone know what white magic is? No one's heard of it? Okay. So I was at a yoga studio like 2 weeks ago, and I got 2 of those blocks, and they were the exact same size. And then we were doing a pose, and then the yoga instructor said, like, oh, once you get out of this pose, you should notice that you have 3 blocks now, because I gave you an extra one. So I look around, and not only do I not have a 3rd block, I also have a block that's half the size of the block that I previously had. So I was like, this is what white magic is. It's when white people steal your things in plain sight, and you have no idea what happened. I was literally sitting there, and I had no idea that this lady stole my block. I also didn't know why she stole my block, because that's just weird and petty. But it was just like really weird. So from that point on, I'm like, there's something about white magic. You can also think of it as colonialism. That might be a better term for it. That's what it is. I'm a little slow today, sorry guys. Did anyone hear about some random person unleashing bedbugs at a Walmart? Yeah? I don't know, like they're still looking for the perpetrator, but I mean, I automatically assume it's a white person because that's just really weird. Like it's like really weird. Like with other people, like when Muslims commit crimes, there's like a logical reason. You know, like you can kind of understand the root of their anger, but with white people, it's like, what were you mad at? Like too many people had clean beds? I don't know. Like I really don't know. And I should say, is anyone here on the DACA program? Is a DACA recipient? Okay, well, just so you know, there's 2 DACAs. A lot of people in this room don't know that. Does everyone know that there's 2 DACAs? Okay, so there's a DACA that most of us know. There's the older form of DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Colonial Arrivals. That applies to most of the people in this room. Okay. So what I'd really like to see is the people on this DACA program that has existed for hundreds of years show more solidarity with the people that are on our DACA recipients in the last couple of years. It's so interesting. When people tell me, like, go back to your country, I'm like, well, I would if you'd stop ruining it, number 1. And number 2, let's go together, because you don't belong here either. The only difference is I'll get to my home country a lot faster because my parents came on a plane. Yours came by ship. So at least I can enjoy a faster ride. I am getting tired. So you know how we just killed, the number 1 terrorist in Iran, right? Did anyone know who this man was like a week ago? Okay. Well, so I didn't either. But what really bothers me is that if they had all this time to figure out who he was and how dangerous he was, why couldn't they make the time to say his name properly? Like, I feel like if you're gonna bomb a country, you should know how to say it. And I feel like if we made a law that said that, we would end all wars. You can only bomb countries whose name you can pronounce, okay? So like, I think Mitch McConnell called him like Qasim, and it's like, it's Qasim. You've had like 18 goddamn years of the war on terror, man. It's time for you to learn. And it's really sad when you're like actually like Arab and you're watching the TV, and the news is actually about something related to, you know, war on terror, Islamophobia, but you actually have no clue that that's what it's about because the pronunciation is so horrible. Like literally, you have no idea what it's about. And similarly, like when I say the names of things in Arabic, like properly, white people have no idea what I'm talking about. So if I say, oh, do you like hummus? They're like, what? I'm like, I know you've had hummus. And I'm like, what is the problem here? And I'm like, oh, it's hummus. Do you like hummus? And they're like, yeah, I love hummus. And I'm like, now you just ruined it for me, man. Now you just ruined it. They ruin a lot of things. I don't even know what to say. I feel a little delirious at this point, honestly. The thing I like, though, about the media in this country, right, is, you know, they kept talking about this Qasim guy who, again, like, no one knew until last week. And they keep saying that Trump hasn't provided any evidence of the fact that this guy was an imminent threat or there was an imminent attack, right? And it's like, it's because it's a lie. We all know it's a lie. So why is the media spending like day after day after day? They're like, oh my God, he hasn't given us evidence. And then the next person's like, oh my God, he hasn't given us evidence. And then they're like, oh my God, he hasn't given us evidence. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a lie. Stop asking this goddamn question. Stop bringing panels of experts to reinforce what you already know. And because the best part about the media is like, they know someone's lying, but then they also lie to cover up the lie, and then don't understand that that makes them liars. And it's this very interesting cycle that they can't disentangle themselves from. But it's just, yeah, it's just very interesting. Because, you know, over the course of the war on terror, there's been like number one, Osama bin Laden, you know, who was the guy that got killed before this that Trump was really proud of? Al-Baghdadi, right? And there was the dog, right? And you wouldn't remember that story that there was this dog, this courageous dog that went and like ran after al-Baghdadi and then al-Baghdadi strangely had like 2 children with him. Did anyone think that was weird? Like he was just like, oh my God, I'm about to die now. Come here, children. Like we're about to be chased down by a dog. And then on top of it, Trump gave an award to the dog. Does anyone remember that? And the dog's name was initially classified. Yeah. And the dog got an award, and Trump was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that dog, he's like, I know that dog knew exactly what it was doing. I'm like, really? Really, Trump? You don't even know what you're doing. How's the dog gonna know what it's doing? I mean, it's arguable who's smarter, but still, really? Really? So I have some bad news for you. If you haven't heard already, there's potentially gonna be a new ban that's put into place on January 27th. As a gift from the Trump administration to mark the anniversary of the first Muslim ban. So it's gonna be a lot of work, right? And there's gonna be a lot of resistance involved. And I think, you know, there are ways we need to kind of think about how to divide our energies and strategize and think about really like, how do we mobilize and fight back against all this injustice? But it's just, you know, it's very interesting when you think of all the multitude of ways that Muslims have been targeted. And it's also really funny when, like, you know how badly communities of color have been targeted in this country, and yet we continue this narrative of, you know, this is not who we are, this is not the kind of treatment that America gives to other people, et cetera, right? And so, look, I'm not the kind who's gonna sit here and like, you know, talk about the US in terms that it has never really, you know, existed in. And I think like we all have to do that, right? We all have to uplift these narratives. But there's also a lot of like just stupid narratives, right? And I don't even know where I'm going with this, to be honest. I have no idea. But I was just thinking of something that's on my mind. And it's a lot of work. I don't even know what to say anymore. I honestly don't. And I don't even know what joke I'm supposed to make. You can ask me a question. Actually, though, my mom and I were at Lens Crafters, I don't know, like a year ago. And we told the lady we're going to Egypt. And she's like, "Are you gonna drive there?" And we're like, "Okay, I know like we're the ones that came in for glasses. But like, have you consulted a map lately? Do you think that's a good idea for us to try to drive there? Do you want to drive there?" It's just like literally unbelievable sometimes the stuff that we get. And people have come up to us. You know, my mom and I were like sitting at a student union, and this woman was like, "I can teach you English if you want." And my mom was like, "I can teach you Arabic if you want." And trust me, it's gonna take a lot longer to learn Arabic than English. And you're gonna feel a lot dumber in the process. I was studying Arabic, I think like 8 years ago or something. And it was really depressing because like there were a lot of Zionists and people in the military and CIA who were like studying alongside me. But what was most depressing was the fact that by virtue of hearing their horrible pronunciation, my pronunciation got worse. And it was like, okay, so first of all, you can't pronounce my name. And second of all, now you're making my Arabic worse than it already was because your pronunciation sucks. And it's just depressing, Okay, I think I'm done.